toss it in there, I guess. But we're not getting any accidents, so. Welcome back to the channel. Today's the day. We finally get to put the engine into the truck. So without further ado, let's get to it. First thing I want to do is replace this pump seal here because it is clearly leaking, and this is the only way to get to it unless you drop the transmission. And yeah, hopefully we don't have to drop this transmission. So I'm going to replace that before we get this engine in here. Yeah, let's do that. Next is to fill this with some fluid since I drained it, because it has this fancy drain plug right here. So we drained it, and now it's time to fill her back up. So a couple of notes here. One, if you have an engine hoist that's not quite high enough or doesn't lift your engine enough, you can put your hubs down a little bit lower, so you got the frame a little lower. You just have to watch out for the differential here and the bottom of your hoist being able to clear that. So I think we're at a good height here. Another thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to have these in the truck, that way I'm not scratching the crap out of this frame. But if that doesn't work, we'll pull it out, we'll put these on, and then we'll put the engine back in. I just want to try this, just curiosity. This is the only bolt that's going to be a little difficult, but I don't know, it might prove to be really hard to line up. We'll see. I'm going to try it, let you guys know. So yeah, I think we're ready to put this engine in. Let's get to it. I'm kind of excited. Might be able to drive this thing soon. So yeah, nothing special with this. Just toss it in there, I guess. Well, there it is, all installed. She's good to go. That was probably one of the easiest installs I've ever had, purely because there was no fenders on there, and I was able to reach around and put the bolts into the transmission relatively easily. So yeah, she's on there. I started putting some of the accessories on there. I got this ground lead on here so that this can come on here in a second, like that. But yeah, I think now I'm gonna need to put the core support and the fenders on, so I get the fender wells on, and then all the electronics back in here. Maybe I should put the heater core on. Yeah, I could do the heater core later, I think. But yeah, I think it's time to get the front end put back together. I got these new cab bushings. The old ones were kind of shot, and I couldn't get these front ones out, so I cut them out, got some new ones. So I might make a video on installing those. I might make a video on installing the cab bushings on the rest of the truck, but for now, just know that we're using new ones on the front, and it's time to put this core support on. So let's get to it. Next to go in is going to be this HVAC box. I had to replace this line because this white line right here got all brittle and broke, so it runs into the cab for your controls. So it was kind of hard getting it through this boot, but I got it. And yeah, so now we're just going to pop that there. I got some expanding foam. It'll slowly expand over time. It's already starting to expand to put here since I didn't have this original seal. I have a little bit of it, but yeah, I think that should do the trick. But it's time to install this. Alright, so off camera I buttoned up a couple things. I got some radiator hoses going on here. I got the reservoir in. I got the filter on. Put some other things underneath the truck like the torque converter nuts. But I think it's high time we put some coolant in here. So I got some fresh coolant. It's time to do that. Well, I think we're ready to start now. I've got everything hooked up aside from the brakes, so we're not going to be driving it anywhere. I also need to do all the cab bushings still. Those are all loose because I was trying to get the downpipe in there, which is pretty much impossible once you have everything in here. So don't forget to put that in before you put the engine in, like I did. Yeah. So let's try to start it. See what happens. 1280. Oh, 113. Well, after cranking on this truck for the better part of 3 days, I had a thought in my brain, and that was about the fuel pump. So on this style truck, on the OBS or old body style, 94 to 97 7.3 Power Strokes, you had a fuel pump that ran off the cam. In 1999, they changed that to an electric fuel pump, and that ran through 03, and then 7.3 wasn't made anymore, and they're all electric fuel pump, I'm pretty sure now. But on the 97, we have a mechanical lift pump off the cam. So that got me thinking about the engine that we used. We used a short block out of a Super Duty, out of like a 2000 or 2001. So after some quick Googling, I found out that after 1999, Ford didn't put a lobe on the cam in that spot because it wasn't needed. And I just assumed because of cheap manufacturing that they would have just kept making the same cam, but I was wrong. So that means I've been cranking this thing, trying to fire a fuel that's not even there. So, yeah. Now it's time to install an electric fuel pump on this truck because I'm not pulling the engine back out to change the cam. So yeah, let me show you what I got going on. So we got this fuel pump, and this actually belongs in a 1999 to 03 7.3 Power Stroke, so it should be the perfect amount of fuel that we need to make this thing run. Then I got some hose, which this is too big for this. This is 3/8 and this is 5/16, but this was a third the price of 5/16 hose, so I figure I could just keep it a little clampsy poo, make it tight. For the wiring, we're going to be using this relay, which is just a standard 30 amp relay. I have a 30 amp inline fuse that we're going to use, and then I pulled this harness out of an old truck out of the junkyard when I was pulling some other parts, and that should have plenty of wire in various gauges that we will need. But yeah, that's a good tip. If you're ever in the junkyard, pull some extra wire if you don't mind using old decrepit wire, which I don't. I'm all about it. So yeah, there's plenty of diagrams online on how to hook this up. A lot of people will use an oil pressure switch as the switch for the relay. In this case, I couldn't find the thread size to fit into the oil cooler, so I'm just going to use a wire that is hot when the ignition is hot in run and start, hopefully. So yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. Anytime the key's on, the pump will be on, it'll have a relay, it'll have a fuse, it'll be safe. Only thing it wouldn't have that you should have is probably an inertia switch that Ford uses in all their vehicles. In case you get in an accident, it would cut the pump. But we're not getting any accidents, so. What ended up being the problem was the low pressure oil pump. So after I got the whole electric fuel system sorted out, she still wouldn't start, and then I changed out the low pressure oil pump and it started right up after a couple cranks. So the low pressure oil pump supplies all of the lubricating oil to your engine, as well as oil up to the high pressure oil pump reservoir, which is used to fire, well, is used for the high pressure oil pump and then to fire your injectors. So there's just no oil getting through the system, which made it not be able to fire. So we got that sorted out. I'm going to show you the fuel pump here real quick, or how we got it wired up. So we've got a relay here, which is just a standard relay. I have a 30 amp fuse line going to this this relay, and Ford put all of these terminals here, so I figured if it's good enough for Ford, it's good enough for me. So that's where we grabbed our power from. This is our ground, going into it, and then we have orange is the power to the pump, green is our switch power. So that runs all the way up there along with the AC line. We tapped into this green or this red wire with a green tracer. It looks kind of pink now. And then just ran our switch wire off that. This is hot when the engine is running and when the engine is starting. Then we set our orange wire down to the pump, and our blue wire is our ground. Underneath the truck, this is what we're looking like. We've got orange is power, blue is ground. We've got our rubber fuel hose going up here to the front of the engine off our pump, and then back here all I did was disconnect. So this is our switching unit for our dual tanks, and all I did was take this line. This is supply line to the engine, this is return. I took it off this hard line here. I didn't even have to remove the clamp, just slid off, and then I put it on a male-to-male union here. It again slid on, no need for the clamp. If it starts to leak, I'll reclamp it, but so far so good. Yeah, and then I just kind of secured it here. The pump, I don't have a bracket for it, so on the Super Duty there is a bracket, and you could drill a couple holes and just bolt it in here. I don't have a bracket, so we just zip tied it here. It's pretty sturdy. And then of course we cut the zip ties so that people will cut themselves if they try to remove it, which is always fun. So yeah, don't make it easy for the next guy, you know? Make sure you cut some zip ties so they cut themselves. Yeah. Well, that's all I have for this video. As you can see, the truck runs and drives now. It's taken me a while to edit this video, so this has been a couple months back now. The truck is actually painted now. I didn't really get any footage of the painting, which is unfortunate, but I'm gonna upload a video of doing the paint correction on our new paint because it didn't turn out as great as I would have hoped. Like you saw in the video, we had some problems with the fuel pump, and that ended up being the wrong cam because I pulled the engine out of a newer vehicle, which is something I didn't even know about until I just got to thinking about it. And I wasted a lot of time trying to crank that engine when it was never going to work. And then later on, the oil pump became a problem as well. So a weak oil pump can have problems at bringing oil up to your high pressure oil pump, and then you don't have oil to fire your injectors. So but yeah, everything's panned out now and she's running great. So if you guys have any questions about anything that happened in the video or anything I can help you with on your 7.3 swap, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.